I met you in New York. I was sold. I loved your art. I love what got me was a bit of the poetry and and how you write a little inspirational quotes on the back of your art, and I really enjoyed that. And we talked for probably 45 minutes, and you're a very deep person, and I feel like that's hard to find. So I wanted to kind of get you on the show to kind of figure out what your story is. And I think the best way to start is in the beginning. So if you could let the listeners know kind of who you are, where you're from, and how you got into art, my man, I would love that.
Yeah. So as I told you, I'm originally from Mexico. I was born in Mexico. I was there for like 4 years. I was born in a spot called Tuxtla Gutierrez, Chiapas. So Tuxtla Gutierrez, Chiapas is like a spot where the Mayan and Aztec Empire used to be. So by the south of Mexico, it's relatively closer to, I believe, El Salvador or Ecuador.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's a really beautiful spot. Um, my mom actually she left Mexico when I was like 4, came to America um, through Coyote, crossed the border.
Oh wow.
Um, and when she came to America, she came to Texas, and I'll have like little slight dreams of the fact that we took a Greyhound bus from Texas all the way to New York. And then from New York, we stayed all over New York, like, Bronx, Queens, Harlem. Now staying in Brooklyn now for close to 8 years, 10 years. Um, and I moved a lot, basically because of the fact that needed a place to stay. I was a really, really bad kid growing up, so I got kicked
Really?
out from a lot of different spots, different schools. So I got kicked out from a lot of places. So that forced my mom to also move, and then eventually just settling down in Brooklyn. Stayed there by Borough Park. It's a very Hasidic Jewish neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so it was, it was interesting growing up around that neighborhood. Um, Graduating from high school, a spot called Brooklyn High School of the Arts, um, and after that, just not really knowing what to do with my life, I went into business. I literally created a business staffing waiters and bartenders. Did that for about 3 years, and around that time, I also went to college for business administration. Did that alongside my business. Got very overwhelmed to the point where I fell into deep depression. I was very, very depressed. Um, Ended up just quitting my business, um, and dropping out of college after attempted suicide. Um, that's when I literally just stayed home making art for about 2 weeks, a week and a half, making art almost every day. And even before that, I was also making art in school. Um, and then yeah, I just fell in love with the idea of art. Um, and after that, I came across Washington Square Park. It seemed like a fucking safe haven for artists because I saw so many artists just selling their art, their clothes, their merchandise that they would make. Saw that spot, and then I saw what's that other spot? Union Square
Yeah.
in Manhattan. I saw that as well, and fell in love with that. So I went home and told my girlfriend that I wanted to do it. Like I was like, yo, you know what? I want to go in and try it, see what it would be like, and you know, did it, bro, did it. And after that, I just started doing it every day, making art every day or almost every day, selling art on the streets, connecting with people, and after 2 years of doing that, now it's just 2 years that I've been making art and sharing it to the world. I've realized that, that at first I was making art that I wanted to make, like a whole bunch of art that had to develop me, um, making art about artists that I like. Uh, After that, like maybe 6 months, 4 months, 5 months of that, I uh, I started thinking about what I needed to make, the art that I needed to make that was
Mm,
impactful. So I was making art about there's this piece that I make, and I sold it, but it said it was also a poem, and it said, I used to want to kill myself, but now I want to live forever. And after making that piece, I realized that a lot of people gravitated to just the vulnerability of that piece.
mm,
Um, and so now I'm just making art that I feel like is connected with people that I meet. Um, so yeah, like that's kind of the backstory of who I am, why I make art now, because I feel like
I
I connect
go
with
ahead.
people through art. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you definitely do. I want to kind of go back to two spots, right? You said that you were a bad kid and got kicked out of a lot of schools. I'm kind of wondering, like, what did you get kicked out for? Like, what was going on? And you know, very curious about
So
this.
so growing up, I used to get into a lot of fights. I would get into a lot of like physical fights, arguments with teachers. I didn't listen. Even in in Mexico, my mama used to tell me that I she would have to come pick me up from school because I would literally leave the classroom and go into the backyard, like the playground, and just play all day and not listen to the teachers and run away. And that just was the way I was growing up. I was just very unattentive, always curious about playing, doing things that involved not really sitting down and listening. Uh, and then as I got older, I started getting more physical with people, fighting, getting arguments with teachers, not really listening. And then the last time I remember that I got kicked out from school was because they caught me watching porn in school.
Oh shit.
Yeah, yeah, and I was like, I think I was like, I think I was like 10
Oh
or
fuck.
11. Yeah, so I was young. Another thing about me is that I lost my virginity when I was like 9. I went through like a sexual experience with a girl that was like 10 when I was like 9. Yeah, so it's like a lot of things happened to me um, that some people could say made me a bad kid.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's why I had to move from a lot of schools and kind of move a lot growing up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a little too young, and
Yeah,
there's a little bit too young.
yeah,
And
it was crazy. It's crazy.
it's an intense experience. But I feel like certain things like that you don't get, in my opinion, I don't think you get good art if you haven't been
Mm,
through shit. I think that art, any type of really good art is you know, unfortunately forged through pain and suffering and understanding and figuring out a way to express yourself, and it's a testament that you were able to come out on the other side, right? And that maybe you've learned, or maybe you're still dealing with that trauma, and this is how, this is your outlet. And
mm,
so I think, that there's a reason that all these things happen to you, right? In my opinion, right? Sometimes it's just happenstance, but I think that there truly is a reason. We're all on some sort of journey, and life is just a series of lessons that you either learn from and get better from, or they destroy you.
right.
One of the yeah, and another thing I wanted to kind of get back to is, that lowest point when you tried to take your life. I wanted to kind of figure out why you would do something like that. Like, where were you, and if you don't want to go there, no pressure too, but it's something I'm kind of curious. Part of the reason is I'm a man that is intrigued by the extremes of the human existence. I love, that's why I devour history and study history and war and all these things. So I've never been in that state of mind to where I'm like, I want to fucking end it all. So I wonder
Right.
how one gets there and how you were able to get past that and survive.
Right. Um. So today I had a conversation with my. So I took a lift from my house to my brother's house. Because it's fucking brick as fuck outside, and
Mm-hmm.
not only that, it's a pretty far ride. So I took a lift to my brother's house, and I talked to this guy in the car, and I asked him what were the reasons why you last cried, and he told me, well, a man usually cries for three things. He said either someone that died that you loved, someone that you love died, um, bankruptcy, and not being loved.
Ooh.
And I kind of agree with him, but it's just interesting how everybody's perspective of sadness is so different, right? So my perspective of sadness was not feeling good enough. I felt like I was perfect. There's a question I ask people all the time too is what's something that you should forgive yourself for? And if you were to ask me that, I would have to forgive myself for trying to be too perfect. I don't think that there's such a thing as perfection. If anything, perfection is like almost corrupt. That idea of perfection is like so corrupt. So yeah, I think that that's what made me and drove me to that state of mind where I was like, you know what, I'm not perfect. Why am I even alive? Um, yeah, that's kind of the reason why I was driven to it because I wanted to be better than I was already, and I felt like I couldn't get there. So, boom,
So you just felt hopeless,
exactly.
and the solution to that feeling that you wanted to get rid of was to leave.
Hmm. Yep.
Wow.
Like an
Wow.
escape button in a game or the button, the home button on a video game. So it's like you just call it quits, and that's what I kind of wanted to do. But um, I'm so thankful that I didn't. One of the people that I have to thank the most for is honestly my girl. I speak to my girl all the time, and I come across things that I didn't even know about myself that she just shows me about myself, and it's so beautiful. Um, so like I feel like that's one of the reasons why I'm still here, my girlfriend, but also just the will to be better. So there's this quote that I always tell people, and I always tell my girl the same thing because I feel like we always make mistakes, and I say we can never be perfect, but we can always be better. And if you live your life that way, you'll understand that you can never ever just reach happiness because it's always more. So that's why I say that.
They're always